Hello, everybody. This is Political. We've got an amazing show for you here today. We're going to be talking about Minneapolis. We're going to be talking about what happens when you defund the police. And very surprisingly, crime starts to rise. It's almost as if they're linked. My name's Connor Allen, and I'm here with Ryan Smith.
What's up, guys? It's your boy Ryan here.
Oh, Lord. And we've got an amazing show for you today. But before we go into that amazing show, I have to ask you, if you do like this content, if you do want to help us out a bit, do please subscribe down below. You see the little button that says subscribe, just click it. And also tell us your opinion. We want to build a community here. We want to talk to you guys. We want to hear what you have to say. So please do leave a comment as well if you like the content. So moving on into the article, you can see it right there. With violent crime on the rise in Minneapolis, City Council asks, where are the police? To give you a bit of background context, City Council voted unanimously to abolish the police force in July.
Oh dear! Wow.
The police is.
They voted unanimously to remove the law that says that they have to have a police force, and then they've begun to defund the police force already. But yeah,
exactly. So they've taken a political decision to get rid of the police, and bit by bit they're taking them apart, and now the police can't function. They can't do their job properly. It's
right.
Crazy.
It's a volatile environment for the police, because who wants to be a police officer right now when you have your council unanimously voting to get rid of you? So, is it any
politicians' words matter? Okay, politicians' actions matter. And if you're a police officer, okay, first of all, we've said this before. We think police officers are heroes. You go out every day, everybody has a gun, you are walking around with a target on your back at the best of times. In today's scenario as well, we saw 2 police getting ambushed in LA 2 weeks ago. Putting your life on the line, you have politicians scapegoating you, saying you're a racist because of the uniform you wear, throwing you under the bus. It's ridiculous. Of course you're not going to be able to do your job as effectively. No one's supporting you.
Yeah, it's a thankless job, more so than ever, and it's a real shame because it wasn't that long ago that the general consensus among the American public was that they supported people that worked in public service, whether it was the police, whether it was firefighters or paramedics or whatever. Those people were considered heroes, especially. And we talked about this a couple of videos back, coming from 9/11. These people were built up as heroes, and rightfully so, because they put their lives on the line. And just what a change now we've seen from then, 20 years ago, and obviously 19 years ago. It was the 19-year anniversary. What a change we've seen in those 20 years.
What a change.
From the way that the public views the police, like, just because what? Because you have these organizations with a radical agenda who want to try and promote and build this narrative of systemic racism or whatever. Like, the onus of proof is on them to show that is the case, and it isn't there. And anyone who actually looks into the figures and looks into the data knows that there is no systemic racism going on in America, in the American police right now. There are outliers, examples that you can point to that prove the exception and not the rule.
You're exactly right. This is what's happened. The far left, because we didn't notice it, did we? Well, this far left narrative has captured public discourse. I think that every citizen of the Western democracies, of any country affected by BLM and these sorts of things, we owe the police an apology, because there is no systemic racism. They're doing their jobs well, but weak politicians over the last 20 years have not challenged these radical narratives that the police are inherently evil and target black people wrongly. It's nonsense. It doesn't exist. But these weak politicians have allowed the far left to capture the media, to capture the public discourse, and we're seeing the fruits of their labours today. It's disgusting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm following on from this. So they had this meeting in Minneapolis in the council. The council members were there. The police chief was there, and they were badgering the police chief essentially saying, what's going on? Why isn't the police doing their job? Why is crime on the rise? And obviously now that their constituents in the council, the people that obviously have elected them there, are saying, well, we've seen rises in crime, now looking for a scapegoat, now that their little plan is obviously starting to fail, and what's happening, the thing that we all thought that was obviously going to happen is now happening. So there's one of the councilmen, Jamal Osman, the residents were asking, where are the police? He said he's already been inundated with complaints from residents that calls for police aren't being answered.
Wonder why.
Yeah, that is the only public safety option they have at the moment. MPD. They rely on MPD, and they're saying they are nowhere to be seen. I just also think that's brilliant, right? They are the only public safety option that they have at the moment, because of course there is this delusion that there's going to be this social worker driven
social justice brigade.
Yeah, social justice brigade who are going to go around the streets in their uniform, de-escalating, gang violence and criminals high on drugs who are going around trying to stab people and shoot people.
Deploying psychologists right into those crackdowns.
By asking them, is everything okay at home? Basically.
How does shooting up make you feel? It's utter nonsense, isn't it? And this man in particular, he's repulsive. He has spent weeks, months calling for a defunding of the police. And now he is refusing to own his actions, Let the left take responsibility. They have chosen to remove, as they describe, the only public safety option they have at the moment. So fix it, They've done it. They've committed this act. So fix it.
Already 1 million removed, and we've seen as well, I think it's unprecedented levels, 100 officers have left the department since the beginning of 2020, and that's more than double the usual amount of officers. Why are they leaving? Because like we said, it's a thankless job. Who would be a police officer right now, especially in Minneapolis of all places? Everyone hates your guts. You're literally going out, and it doesn't matter who you are. If you're trying to do the best job that you can do, people still hate your guts just for wearing the uniform. So why would anyone want to be a police officer? This is the environment that they've created. This is the atmosphere that they've created.
Absolutely. And, if you're a police, at the best of times, when you're walking around the street, I see it myself. People shout things at them, right? People say, like, oink, oink, piggy, and things like this. Okay. And that's at the best of times. Okay. But now what people are doing is they're throwing rocks at them. They're throwing things at them, and they're hurling real vile abuse. They say, I'm going to kill your family and things like that. It's disgusting. And if you're a police officer today, imagine you pull over. You're a highway patrol officer or something, and you pull over a suspect, and he happens to be black. Okay. I wouldn't bother going through the hassle. What if he pulls a gun on you? I'm not saying black people are more likely to pull a gun, but what if that suspect pulls a gun on you? Yeah, because you can't do anything. If you shoot him down, as you should do, you're going to have far left nut jobs firebombing your family, calling for you to be fired, for you to be permanently erased from history. It's disgusting. It's literally not worth your wage to do the job you're doing. All created because of this far left radicalization.
Right. Exactly. And apparently people have been saying in Minneapolis that police officers have said that they're not arresting people that are committing crimes. And in many ways, I'm not surprised, because like you said, just the scenario that you described. Obviously, we're not talking about someone pulls a gun on them, but let's just say you go into a neighborhood, like a predominantly black neighborhood or something like that, and you see some crime being committed, you're going to second guess. It's like, should I really take the risk to go and do something about this now? Because what if I end up in a situation where they're resisting arrest, or then they're not cooperating, or they refuse to answer questions that legitimate questions, whatever it is, like, you're going to end what if just then the situation escalates, Maybe they become aggressive, whatever it is. These are obviously just normal things that happen in, day-to-day life. If you're a police officer, you do come across people that are obviously, violent or aggravated, of all races, obviously. I mean, I don't need, obviously should go without saying, but in today's world, you have to make
Don't
that
want to get
distinction.
cancelled.
Yeah, exactly. So whoever it is, but let's just say that you're doing that, just carrying out the job to the best of your ability, trying to maintain public safety and protect citizens from crime, and someone is resisting arrest that happens to be black, and then you've got just someone walking along the street, streaming it to Facebook Live or whatever it is, or Periscope. I don't know if that's still a thing, and you're basically now going to become enemy number one of Minneapolis. Just for doing your job, right? So of course they're going to be concerned about arresting people or pursuing people that are committing crimes because
Disgusting.
they don't know what's going to happen.
It's disgusting the way people have treated police officers. Like I said before, we all owe them a big apology because who suffers the most from this as well? It's those people living in those disadvantaged neighborhoods. Because if you're living there, okay, the majority of people living in disadvantaged neighborhoods aren't criminals, but the majority of people live in disadvantaged neighborhoods. So the people who suffer most are the very people in the communities that they're left, like to parrot, they like to pretend they're the champions of, but they've just thrown them to the wolves. And they've thrown them to packs of criminals, and they promise that they're going to deploy psychologists and, making sure your feelings are okay, officers, and things like this. And no, they're not there. Taking away the police, and now you've got to fend for yourself. They've made the decision. Why don't they own it?
Yeah, and I think as well, what we're actually seeing here as well, what this is indicative as well, this council meeting that's happened on, is those on the left who, when the BLM protests began and these calls to defund the police, they obviously afraid of being voted out of public office, decided to go for the approach of appeasing the crowd, said, yeah, we're going to defund the police and do all this stuff. Suddenly now, as time's gone on and they're realizing the implications of what it is that they're trying to do and what's going to happen by defunding the police, now they're trying to backtrack on it. But Mr. Cunningham here in the council, who obviously is a staunch leftist and a staunch DLM supporter, is now getting a little bit frustrated that his council members aren't going along with the plan because they voted to delay the total. Well, they were initially going to put this to a vote, I think, in November during the election to the local residents of whether they want to completely abolish the police or not. And now they've decided to delay the vote. And he's obviously quite frustrated by this. But I think that this really is just part of a trend that we're seeing now of those on the left starting to regret supporting BLM, and you see it with Biden, obviously, because he's trying to distance himself with this defund the police movement. Absolutely.
And this will be played out in every single city council across America if Biden wins the election. Because if Biden wins this election, you're going to see these types of people empowered. You're going to be seeing calls to defund the police across the nation. And when the crime rises, and when people are not feeling safe anymore, and when people are getting stabbed and robbed, and the streets are lawless, which is going to happen, they're all cut from the same cloth, and they're all going to try and throw the police under the bus to save their own skins again, just as happened here. They're all the same. It's disgusting. I keep repeating that it's disgusting, but
yeah, but and you would expect the left to be the people that are there to look out for some of these police departments, right? These people that are, like I say, carrying out this thankless job, putting their lives on the line for relatively low amount of money as well. It's not like people in the police are paid extortionate amounts of money. They're working in civil service. They're paid, probably like medium wage or whatever it is, right? So I just think what they're doing is they're really putting their neck out to do this job. And you would think, in many ways, they should kind of find themselves in that group of working class people that the left are supposed to be supporting and looking out for and representing. And obviously, they've just completely abandoned them. And you're seeing this anyway in all the other left cities, like obviously like Chicago and New York and all of this. We've just got crime skyrocketing now. And even though they haven't already taken the steps in those places to actually start defunding the police, it doesn't matter because the sentiment is there that the police feel as though they're not wanted. So they're leaving the ranks in record numbers. And there's just low enthusiasm for them to actually go out and do the job to the best of their ability because they don't feel like they're appreciated anymore. And you'll see this trend more so if Biden gets in, because people will see that as a sort of acceptance of the way that they think, and that they're basically saying, "Oh, Biden got voted in." And they voted in Democrats and they voted out Trump, so that must mean that this sort of anti-police rhetoric is accepted and approved now. So now we can continue and we can ramp up all of this nonsense that's directed towards police.
You know who benefits the most, right? It's the criminals. If I was a criminal and I saw the public turning on the police as they have done, if I saw politicians turning on the police as I have done, I would be rubbing my hands together with glee. Okay, and I'm not talking just about the average street hoodlum or the street thug. You call them peaceful protesters now, but whatever. I'm not talking about these people. There is a serious problem with organized crime too. And these people have free reign now because they can sense it. They can sense that the police aren't interested in doing their jobs. They can sense that the tide has turned.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought you were going to make a further point there.
Oh, no.
Yeah, certainly. And organized crime, and obviously all the looting and the violence that's gone on, all the people that are opportunists that have taken advantage of the situation. And you've seen, here in Minneapolis, there's Grand Theft Auto happening in broad daylight, robberies happening in broad daylight. They've kind of built up this kind of what's the word I'm looking for here?
Impunity, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. Impunity, we can go with that. Yeah, they're not afraid of police anymore. They feel like they can get away with anything.
They're brazen, they're brash. They can just go out into the open and do whatever the hell they want.
It's like a kind of criminal arrogance. You can't catch me. I can just do what I want. And you saw that with the protests.
Bloody hell, the peaceful civilians are smashing shop windows and helping themselves to, the Louboutins or, the Gucci bags or whatever.
Yeah.
So those are the peaceful, law-abiding citizens, according to the politicians. And what are the criminals doing?
Yeah, exactly. So it's a real dark future, as far as I'm concerned, for America if they do continue to go down this path. Anyone with any brain can see, because we've already seen it, not just here now in Minneapolis, but in other cities, that you start creating this anti-police sentiment, and you're just going to see a big rise in crime, and no one benefits but criminals. No one benefits but criminals, like you say. So
absolutely 100% correct. Do you have anything else to add to this, or shall we wrap up?
No, I think that concludes this video.
In that case, then, guys, I'm going to ask you, please do subscribe and comment and tell us, what do you think? Are you living in a city in America where the city councils are proposing to defund the police? What's happening in your neighborhood? Do you want to see your police defunded? I sure as hell don't. Tell us what you think. Subscribe, like, share to all your friends, and we'll see you next time.